BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you are new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face. Hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So that's why you're here, because that's what's going to be happening today. If you are not new to me, thank you for always tuning in, the continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, as you can see from the title of this video, I have a book review for you. And this is on Justin Boring's Beauty is a Blade. I received this through Reads Discovery. If you're not familiar with Reads Discovery, it's a company that reached out to me a few months ago and asked me to be one of their video reviewers for them. And that's what I'm doing for you guys today. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, and let's get talking about this one hell of a ride of a book. Okay, so this is Beauty is a Blade by Justin Boring, and it looks like this. Its release date is December 7th of 2022. So if you're seeing this before December 7th of 2022, it is not available for purchase just yet. But if you're seeing it afterwards, if you feel so inclined to go want to pick it up, it is available to you. And I found it through Reads Discovery. So a few stats about this book. This is the first installment to a fantasy series called the Thousand Scars for You series. We do have triggers for graphic sexual content, graphic language, blood play. I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly. It's a big one. Autosassinophilia. And if you're not familiar with that, that is the paraphilia of someone who is sexually aroused at the thought of being killed. And we'll get to that. We also have triggers for loss of loved ones, fantastical and magical violence, blood and gore, and cannibalism. So, a lot of triggers in this one. A lot of them. There's a lot in this book, guys. There's a lot. But why did I choose this book? Honestly, I really like this cover. I thought it was kind of unique, and that's what drew me into it. And then I read the summary, and I'm going to read you the summary that I was provided by Reads Discovery, which was written by the author. I have not omitted anything from it. This is exactly the summary that I was given. So, there is no force more compelling on earth or in the parallel realms than the forbidden love. Right or wrong, forbidden love can be a very beautiful thing, but that beauty is a blade and has a razor's edge. Impossibly, love blooms amidst a savage gender war that has raged for millions of years. The Patavi shapeshifters, an all-female clan, and the Cintavareti, I hope I'm pronouncing those correctly, sorcerers are an all-male clan where sworn enemies, divided and forced to fight by their insatiable and conspiratory elders. Leiluna, a hardened Pentavi warrior, starts to suspect her elders' voracious appetite for war is a ruse. She and her mate, Maesif, are determined to uncover the elders' true designs and end the never-ending war that has plagued their clans. Unbelievably, they are joined by Vassar, a true immortal Cintavareti sorcerer and head of the undying Nuvaskar. He too shares their suspicions surrounding the elders, and the three of them embark on an epic mission of bloody satisfaction. Forbidden love writes itself in the story and proffers a child of incredible power, but she may be the only way to end the war, unite the clans, and eliminate the elders, but she would have to survive first. That sounds fucking epic. I read that and was like, that sounds so dope. I want to read that. That sounds awesome. There's a lot packed into there, and I was expecting a lot to be packed in the book, and I was not disappointed. There is a lot going on in this book. So much. This thing is a roller coaster from page 1 to page wherever it ended on, depending on what kind of version you have on it. It is a fucking roller coaster, up and downs, but it is 0 to 100 like that. It is all hands, all feet need to be in the car at all times, and you need to have your seatbelt belted properly, because if you don't, you're going to fly the fuck out and not know what the hell's going on. So, what worked about this book? Hits the ground running. I mean, if you like stuff that hits the ground running and is on your edge of your seat like that, this is one for you. It will take you there and it will keep you there the entire time. Now, whether you're enjoying yourself at the edge of your seat is a whole nother ballgame, but it will get you there for sure. Boring has created a unique world in this fantasy universe that he's created. The gender divide between the Pentavi and the I cannot say that correctly. I apologize. The Cintivaretti, just when you learn about the description of their clans and their groupings and the traits and characteristics that abide by this one and versus this one, it's fantastic. The gender divide is hardcore there. It is a big black ass line and you don't fucking cross it. Okay? It's awesome. The gender divide was fantastic. The power divide amongst these genders, badass. The powers that went with specific ones, really, really fucking cool. I like the way he made the masculine and feminine at the same time. I thought it was fantastic. I thought he did a really good job with that. There was a class system that he built into this installment as well, so you definitely get to see among the classes, among these different clans with the elders and the higher ranking warriors to the lower warriors. And then especially in the, again, I can't say this name, Cintivaretti, there is multiple factions of a hierarchy, especially with the Nuviskar. We get to see a really good representation of them, for sure. And this magic system, oh my god, this thing has shape-shifting, and we've got magic that can create spheres and orbs, and we've got the Nuviskar that, like, can't fucking die at all. Like, he can... There's one that gets literally imploded from the inside out, and then just all of its little bits and pieces. It's like the Terminator. They're just crawling to find each other, and then they reform, and he's back to what he was, except he's covered with all these scars because the only remnant that he was ever damaged. It's insane. This guy dies like 12 fucking times in multiple graphic, very visceral kind of ways, and the bitch still comes back. And I say bitch because I hate that character. Did not like him at all. Thought he was a douchebag. Yeah, that is another thing that worked in this book. You have definite feelings about specific characters. There is not a lot of morally gray characters in here. It's very black and white for a lot of the characters, which I really like. Although I do love morally gray, I think they're fantastic every once in a while, especially in fantasy because it's so big, it's so vast, it can be anything. It's nice to have black and white sometimes where it's so clear cut. Yeah, these are the bad guys, this is the good guy, I'm good. I like it. So he did a really good job with that. Another thing he did an excellent job was with the carnage and battle scenes. We embark on a very large war, the start of a war. So far, the clans have lived in kind of a very tentative peace type situation, but an instance happens that ignites this war, and the elders agree to go to war very, very quickly. So now we have these big carnage battle scenes, and they are dope as fuck. If you like blood, guts, and gore in your books, this is one for you. You get a lot of it, and you get a lot of really clear description of, like, graphic moves. And it is awesome. It is on point. It is great. Had a good time with it, especially if you're really into that. But if you are not into that, that plays a very heavy level in this book. So that is why I put it as a trigger for this, because it is so much of this book is this major war battle sequence that's going on. The next element that I think really worked is also an element that I feel doesn't work. So it's one of those crossovers. And the only way for me to describe it is organized chaos. So this is a fantasy book. Hands down, without a doubt, fantasy. There is romance involved. There's heavy in romance, but it is a very fantastical romance book. But the elements of fantasy are literally layered on top of each other over and over and over again. It's almost like the author took a big bag and put all these high fantasy tropes in it, shuffled it up, threw it out on the floor, and whatever popped up with the writing are those the ones he threw in there. And he layered them in a way where it looks insane, it drives you batty, but by the time you get through the end of the story, it all wraps up and it makes sense. It organized chaos. That's the only way I can really describe it. And it is an element that really works if you like that kind of story. But if you are not into a lot of pieces, a lot of tropes, a lot of elements, then this is going to feel very heavy, very forced to you. So it's really kind of what kind of fantasy reader, romance reader you are, because he does this on the romance side as well. So it's done on both genres that this book falls under. So that's why I say it works and it doesn't work, because it really depends on what kind of reader you are. For me, it was kind of a miss for a long time of this book. I personally felt like I was watching a train wreck for majority of the book, but I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I could not take my eyes off of it. I just wanted to keep watching. I wanted to see what else was going to fucking happen. What other carnage, what other emotions, what other drama was going to be caused by this main fucking element that is so damaging and so depressing to look at, that I'm exhilarated and then I'm on the edge of my seat and I want to know, oh, by the way, there's a fucking arm there and I'm picking out these other things. Like, holy crap. It was a ride. It was a ride. So for me, it didn't work in the sense that I appreciated it. It worked for me in the sense that it kept me on my edge of my seat and it kept me reading, but I wasn't necessarily the most comfortable with it most of the time, because I was just like, wow, this seems really forced. This seems like he's using too many tropes. But by the end of the book, it all wrapped up and made sense. So this one's definitely, if you like that kind of thing, you're going to like it. If you don't like that kind of thing, you'll still appreciate the book because it'll keep your ass on the edge of your seat, but you might not feel comfortable the entire time. The other thing, there's a few other things that didn't work in this book for me, and it was actually the very beginning. So the very beginning, we are introduced to Mina, and when I say we're introduced to her, she's getting a phone call from her girlfriend saying that she's seeing her boyfriend making out with somebody else, and Mina went the fuck off. Okay, she storms out of her house and starts walking, like kind of cool down, but she doesn't cool down. No, she gets so worked up that she starts melting the fucking asphalt, okay? Melting people, passerbys, they just incinerate. And then she finally sees the guy making out with the chick and they realize, oh, I just fucked the fuck up. And implodes them with like a 30-mile radius and destroys this area. And then we get told, there's some backstory that we need to talk about. We're going to talk about that. And then that's the whole story, is the backstory. And we meet Mina again in the epilogue. But that whole first portion, I kind of wish he would have left it out. Like, I kind of wish he would have. Don't get me wrong. It caught me. And I was like, the fuck am I reading? This is kind of fucking cool. This bitch just like melted asphalt. Yes. That's fucking cool. Talk about a woman scorn. Fuck. Yeah, there you go. But then it never got touched on again, because this installment was about her parents and kind of how she was created and their backstory. So why start the book with her? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm hoping, because it does say that Mina's story is continued in book 2 of this, which is entitled Violence and Roses. So we do get to find out more of that story. I just feel like that was kind of not necessary at the beginning, you know. So that was just a weird placement issue for me. The other thing that I wasn't really a fan of was the insta-love of the main couple. Now, there are 3 main people in this story, but when I mean the main couple, I'm talking about the main hero and the main heroine. They had a very insta-love connection, and it was really obvious. I kind of wish there would have been more development of that relationship. Now, I understand they're kind of this war-style time, so you have that big arching dramatic piece kind of forcing their relationship and kind of perpetuating it and speeding it up. But this isn't a fated mate story. So why the immediate insta connection? I just didn't quite understand. The insta lust had zero issue with, because that shit was hot. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. it was the love component. It was just automatically, I'm in love with you. And I know you're in love with me because I can smell lies and I know you're not lying, because that's like a shapeshifter ability. And I'm just like, really? Okay. Like, you fucking just met. Like, just met. All right, cool. You've hated each other for thousands of years. Your people have. Okay. All right. It just seemed, it was really, really insta. And I really wish there had been more development between those two characters, because the main hero, Vassar, and the main heroine, how do you say her name? Leiluna. I hope I'm pronouncing your characters' names right. I hope. If I'm not, I apologize. That's the insta, but Leiluna and Massif, who was like actual her mate, you understood their love. You saw it. You saw it not develop, but you saw it keep progressing. You saw the respect between them. You saw the loyalty between them. You saw the understanding between them. And so having those two relationships side by side, it made Vassar and Lulaina's really, really obvious, because it was so well done with Massif and Lulaina's. So I kind of felt a little lacking on that one, which kind of sucked. But the spice rating of this book, yeah, those couples rocked that shit. They did. Really fucking well. That was great. So I gave this a 4 chili peppers, because this book includes a female-female scene, a female-male scene, and a female-female-male scene. Oh yes, we get a throuple in this, and it's dope as fuck, guys. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice, because what Bourne did is he created this unique element completely designed around spice for this book, which I thought was fucking brilliant. He just didn't have people hook up and be spicy. He literally incorporated it into their culture, into their fighting techniques, into their style, and how the two clans still simultaneously sort of at times get along, because they're constantly warring. And in this book, there's an element called the Kapunaktur. I'm pretty sure I'm fucking butchering that. I apologize. But essentially what it is, it's a practice when these two clans are fighting. They can either choose to fight, or they can fuck, or they can do both. And it is throughout the entirety of this fucking book. And when I talk about, you want to talk about some fight sex or hate sex, there's a scene with a bitch riding a guy's face while digging his eyes out. That's all I gotta say. All right? I think that describes that element of this book. It is so crazy and out there that it fucking works, and it adds to this organized chaos, this beautiful disaster thing that this book's got going on. It is really fucking cool. I thought it was really weird, but as it keeps going through, I'm like, I get what he's doing here. I get it. Because there's such a fine line between love and hate. There really is. And he's saying, fuck that line. We're going to do what I want to do. And we're going to have a good time with it. So, yeah, that element was awesome in those battle scenes. So not only do you have great battle techniques and great description in this carnage, you have the sexualized side of this violence at the same time. And that's where this autosassinophilia comes in. It is not listen the trigger, but because it is someone becoming sexually aroused by the thought of being killed in a battle, there's a possibility of dying. So you're becoming sexually aroused. So somebody who is looking for odd paraphilias in books, here you go. Here's an off the wall one, and it's done really fucking well. It's utilized, and it's a major component, because our male hero and our heroine pair, that is actually how they originally worked together, is they decide to Kapunaktur instead of fight, because they have kind of a like mind on what's going on with the elders and this kind of like overthrowing thing. So they choose to fuck over fight, and it starts building this trust between them. And those sex scenes are pretty fucking dope, guys. Okay? It's pretty awesome. They're pretty good. I'm not a fan that Vassar tastes like honeysuckle, but that's just me. I've been reading a lot of monster smut lately, and the idea of things tasting like things are not supposed to taste like just kind of weird for me right now. But it is explained. He doesn't actually taste like honeysuckle. It's just the way he bathes. It's this kind of shampoo and body wash. So it makes complete sense, and it's explained, and I like the fact that that was explained, and it wasn't just like part of his DNA. It was because of how he bathed. So I thought that was dope. I liked that. That was good. I liked it. So 4 chili peppers on this. There is also blood play in this. We do have some blood transferences in some of the sex scenes, and we do have partial shifting scenes. So if you're into shifter romances where they are partially shifted, so they're half human, half in their animal form, Boring did it for you. Yep. With chicks. Yeah. Yeah. Claws and everything, ladies and gentlemen. Claws and everything. It was pretty dope. Not gonna lie. It was pretty interesting. My final thoughts on this book. My final thoughts are, this book is probably not going to be for everyone. It's going to be for high fantasy readers with that like a lot of romance in their fantasy. It's going to be for the romance reader who's into the, I hate the word taboo, but the taboo elements, kind of the fantastical elements of the romance side, you know, the monster side, the paranormal side. That's the kind of romance reader that I think will appreciate this book. If you like things that go 0 to 100 very quickly and they don't stop, this is a book for you. If you don't like lulls and boring periods in your books, here you go. Because even the romantic, very lovey-dovey sex scenes, they're still fucking hot and heavy, even though they're very slow moving. Even the political discussions, very slow moving, they're not. It's the attitude that he gives his characters makes those things, like, speeds them through. Now, however, if you're a person who doesn't like a lot of shit thrown at them at once, especially about magic systems and new worlds and all these developing plot elements, he tends to info dump a lot of that. So that's an element that if you are not a fan of that, going into it, you should be warned about that it does happen. But this is the first installment in a series. I'm not saying that the rest of the series would be like that because he's already done it here. And my last final thought on this is I gave this 3 stars. I was not going to give it 3 stars. It was a solid 2 for me, pretty much up until the end of the book. And then when everything came full circle and I saw the train wreck really wasn't a train wreck, it was just organized chaos, I had to give it the 3 rating because I did enjoy it. I had a good time with it. It served its purpose. It entertained the fuck out of me, and it got me talking. It got me explaining, like, listen to what I just read tonight, honey. And I tell him, and he's like, what? All right, well, that's a lot. You know, I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to pass it along. Mr. Boring, if you ever see this, thank you for letting me read your book. And I do plan on picking up your second one when it comes out because I like to know the rest of Mina's story. I like to figure out, because she seems like a badass. And I really want to know how she goes about it, and how she gets to that first segment that you gave us, because she doesn't end there. So I'm interested to know how that story plays out. So thank you for sharing your book with me, and I hope to read more from you very, very soon. That's my review on Beauty is a Blade by Justin Boring, and the series title is, one more time, 1,000 Scars for You series. I'll see you guys all later. Bye, guys.